time has come.
Execute Order 66.
Yes, that's right. Incredibly, I've not only got a Star Wars themed beer, but one that also happens to be both an Imperial Stout, rocking in at a whopping 10.5% ABV, but also, well, it appears to be Nutella flavoured. Now, they probably thought they'd gone as daring as they could with the potential copyright claims with the name and the can design and everything else, so they didn't list Nutella directly, but the description is a chocolate and hazelnut Imperial Stout, which, well, let's face it, just screams Nutella. Now, this beer is a collaboration between Ampersand Brew Co, who are down in East Anglia, a little south of Norwich, making them one of Mark's Beer Review's local favourites. He also conveniently looks a little bit like an Ewok.
Goopa noopa, goopa noopa.
And the other half of this duo is, of course, the appropriately named Emperors Brewery, who are pretty local to myself, although they're not in Nottingham Brewery. Emperors are based just a little south down in Leicestershire. So, before we get into it, here is a quick look at the can. I mean, you can't get more Star Warsy than that, really. Incredible. I don't want to use the wrong term, but derivative of Stormtrooper head on their helmet, the two logos and the Execute Order 66 title on it. And then if we spin it around, look, you get, well, it's just a very nicely put together bit of can design. I think you'll agree. For this special beer, I'm going to be using my special Twisted Hops Stemmed Allegra glass, because it is just, to be honest, the best for getting tasting and aroma notes out of. Interestingly, this beer is available from Twisted Hops, but that's not where I purchased it. I got it directly from Ampersand Brew Co, because I fancied trying a few of their other bits as well. But yeah, it's available in a good amount of bottle shops, but probably only for quite a limited time. This is a pretty limited brew. That poured like silk. In the glass then, it is, that might be the darkest beer I've ever looked at. There is nothing at all bleeding through there. It is absolutely pitch black. It started off as a one finger, now half a finger, and very soon to be absolutely nothing of a kind of toffee coloured head on it. I mean, it's 10.5%. That's not likely to stick around too long. But yeah, let's find out what those aromas are saying. Oh, it's got a richness, a deep, almost licorice, but falling short of the real deal in there. It's got a very clean aroma about it. I've said it about a few beers. There's something a touch clinical, a touch antiseptic even. I think it's probably just a high ABV, but I'll be honest, it's falling a bit short on the aroma, this. I'm going to try and swirl it around a little bit in the glass, but that's opened it up a little bit, a bit of the chocolate coming through, a vague sense of some nuttiness in there. Yeah, I'm really not getting much else out of the aroma, to be honest. I think we're going to have to skip that section and get straight into it. So, cheers. Happy Order 66. That's complex. Whoa. And it is 10.5%. No disguise at all. The moment that this passes your lips, you go, that's warm. Well, it's not. It's been in the fridge. It's not super cold. It is an Imperial Stout. I've let it raise up to temperature a little bit, but ultimately, it's still cool to touch on the glass. And the overwhelming sensation is just, this is going to warm me up. But that said, second sip, it's not as jarring. Very quick to acclimatise. There is a raft of flavour in there, but it's slightly more reserved than I thought it'd be. There's heaps of roasty, toasty malt, a bit of that licorice edge that I talked about on the aroma, deep chocolate cacao nib, and there is a nutty texture, but just not as big and binding as I thought it would be. I'm not disappointed. Am I disappointed? I'm slightly disappointed. But I don't know. The problem with this beer is it got hyped. Emperors only really do collabs with big breweries. Everyone makes a big song and dance about them. They're limited numbers. And in general, they're very, very good. Or at least everyone says they are. I've not had that many. I'm not sure anyone's had a lot of them. Or, well, I'm sure there's a few people. But you know what I mean. The assumption is they're going to be incredible. And this is a subtle Imperial Stout. Which is interesting. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is an absolute no-goer. I'm just trying to work it out because my anticipation hasn't been met, but maybe my anticipation wasn't their intent. So typically, Imperial Stouts, especially ones that with loads of adjuncts in, like this would appear to have, tend to go for big, huge, sweet, robust flavours, really, to try and overshadow that massive ABV. Now, this doesn't do that, and you could tell by my initial reaction. That said, given that it's acclimatized so quickly and I'm no longer getting that kind of boobsy alcohol shock, well, this is coming across almost like a relatively pricey French red wine, that is. It has oodles of flavour, but maybe, just maybe, you need to aerate it, you need to let them come to you, you need to enjoy it over a period of time, which obviously at 10.5% is the ideal to do, which makes ultimately reviewing it a little bit tricky. But thinking about the positives for a minute, the alcohol isn't too much after the second sip. All of the flavours are there, but they're subtle. There's no off flavours. The mouthfeel, the body on the beer is good. It's not exceptional, but it's good. I'd say it's good enough. And, well, there's nothing wrong with this at all. Weirdly, I'm in a bit of a juxtaposition here because I'm not offended by this in any way. It's an incredibly clean, well presented, succinct, kind of compact. There's no rough edges to this. It's miraculously well brewed. But I was hoping for just something with a bit more punch, a bit more bite in one area or another. I'm going to let this air out for a bit, come up to temperature a little bit more while we take a look at the can and see, well, if it changes in the meantime. On the can then, Ampersand Brew Co. X Emperors Brewery, Execute Order 66, Chocolate and Hazelnut Imperial Stout at 10.5%. On the back, again, Execute Order 66, Chocolate and Hazelnut Imperial Stout. It says, brewed in collaboration with Emperors Brewery, this Imperial Stout brings big, rich flavours of dark chocolate, hazelnut and vanilla layered over
deceit and treachery.
Maybe the treachery is in that they are not big, bold flavours. Who knows? Cold steep cacao nibs and an interstellar lineup of malts bring complexity to this galactic stout. They've used a lot of good buzzwords. Give them that. Dangerously easy to drink, so beware, betrayal can come at any time. Okay, so they're saying big flavours, but they're also saying easy to drink. While it is possible to have both, realistically, one kind of offsets the other. So I think they are aware of where this went. Let's have a look at the ingredients. It says water, barley malt, which was pale, chocolate, brown, DRC, roasted barley, crystal light and caramel malt, oat, wheat, hops of Pilgrim, there's sugar, yeast, cacao nib, vanilla extract and hazelnut flavourings. There's a lot of adjuncts in there, but they've been used sparingly, and in any other beer style, that is how I would want it. I just think maybe we've been a bit ruined by a lot of big, super sweet, over-the-top Imperial Stouts in recent years, because that is an exceptionally well-done beer. I just don't know that it'll be what everyone was expecting. Back to it. Okay, this has now been open for approximately 12 minutes, so something should have changed. Right then. There's a sweetness now on the aroma that wasn't apparent before. I can tell you that much. There's a bit of coffee, a bit of super sweet vanilla, caramel, fudgy. What is that smell? You know, if you've ever been in a sweet shop and you can kind of, I don't know, you end up smelling a load of different sweets, and you get that one that takes you just a little off guard. That it's still there, it fits, it's sweet, but it's just got a bit more of a mature character than all of the pure sugar stuff in there. It's a bit like that. Right, I've not done it yet, so let's give this a go. Top to bottom taste test to see what on earth I can pick out of this. So initially, sweet, tingling on the front of the tongue. The alcohol does hit again after you've left it alone for a minute, I have to say. Second phase, deep, roasty, cacao nib. It's chocolatey, but it's not sweet. Kind of middle of the tongue phase. Most thing clears out. That's where you get a real nutty element, but it's more raw. It's more kind of nutshells, and I don't know how to describe it. A bit more earthy than just the sweetness of the nut itself. That flows through. Big vanilla, chocolate, caramel sweetness right at the end, and you're left with, to be honest, something that's not all that dissimilar to Tia Maria in an aftertaste. It's just amped up a bit bolder, a bit roastier. It's this is a refined approach to an Imperial Stout, and despite what I said at the start of this video, I'm really enjoying it because, yeah, this is not relying on, whilst it does have a lot of adjuncts and additives, it's not relying on them in huge quantities to be balanced and be a good beer. It is a fantastic beer of its own right that happens to have a few little extra notes thrown in for that chocolate and hazelnut flavour profile. This does not taste like Nutella, right? Straight up, not there, nowhere near. But if you like those sorts of flavours, but are open to something a little bit more depthy, complex, thoughtful, lots of big adult words that really I'm not that keen on, but you get the idea, then actually I think this is a winner, and I'm going to go and enjoy the rest of this downstairs with a film right now. And that really is all I have to say about it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe if you will be so kind, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.